The stars shimmered like watchful eyes above the glassy dome of the United Earth Assembly. Captain Liana Torres stood in silence, arms crossed behind her back, her uniform immaculately pressed, her expression unreadable. The delegation room smelled of ozone and sterilized metal, clean, cold, unimpressed. Across from her, towering in flowing biosilk robes, stood Commander Chen of the Yulani Dominion, a species as elegant as they were arrogant. "We come not as conquerors," Chen began, his voice layered with synthetic harmonics, "but as educators. Your species stands on the precipice of irrelevance. Integration into the Dominion will preserve your cultural essence, even as we update your obsolete systems of governance and defense." Torres didn't flinch. She had been briefed. The Yulani approach was never invasion. It was absorption through overwhelming superiority, calculated diplomacy, and relentless pressure. Their warships hovered above Earth's orbit like patient wolves watching a wounded deer. Their tone was civil. Their intent was conquest. "We appreciate your concern," she said, "but humanity's sovereignty isn't up for trade." Jen cocked his head. His eyelids blinked sideways, a reflex of curiosity, or perhaps disdain. "Sovereignty is a pre-industrial concept. Your military structures are archaic. Your global economy is saturated with inefficiencies. Our analysts found your last planetary war occurred over a century ago." Torres didn't correct him. Let them underestimate us, she thought. Let them believe peace has made us fragile. Behind her, Dr. Marcus Ibekwe watched the exchange unfold, his dark eyes flickering with interest, not alarm. A former war historian turned strategist, Ibekwe had spent the last decade archiving humanity's darker chapters into what he called the repository, a database of conflict models, technological trajectories, and psychological warfare metrics. He'd warned them this day would come. The Yulani believe war is a symptom of disorder, he had told the council days earlier. But for us, it was a forge. Our peace is not the absence of violence, it's the result of surviving it. Now, as he watched Torres parry with the alien envoy, he recalled the grim lessons of Earth's past. Verdun, Stalingrad, Dresden, Hiroshima. The industrialization of suffering was not merely historical, it was foundational. The Yulani had read the data but missed the meaning. They didn't understand that humanity didn't fear war because it was chaos. Humanity feared it because it was efficient. Jen gestured toward the ceiling, where a hologram bloomed to life. A latticework of data streams, military power comparisons, supply chain analytics, historical trends in armament production. The Yulani were correct. By surface metrics, humanity's active warfighting capability was a tenth of theirs. This simulation, Jen continued, predicts a conflict length of 9.3 days, minimal planetary damage, 98% certainty of Dominion victory. Shall we formalize your compliance peacefully? Torres gave a small smile, like someone withholding the punchline of a cruel joke. We'll need time to confer with the Assembly? You have 72 Earth hours, Jen said, already turning. After that, the process becomes automated. The aliens left. The room fell into silence. Torres and Ibekwe remained. He believes we've forgotten, she said, rubbing her temple. He's not wrong, Ibekwe replied. We've archived war behind glass cases and documentaries. They think that means we're soft. She turned to him. Can we still do it, Marcus? Not just fight. Build for war? He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he pulled a small black chip from his coat pocket. It pulsed faintly. The Valkyrie Protocol. Authorized. It'll take 15 minutes to cascade through the dormant nodes. Torres nodded once. Do it! With a soft chime, the order was given. Deep beneath Earth's crust, in sealed catacombs buried under former fusion reactors, something ancient stirred. A factory with no name, a system with no morality. Ghost AIs reawakened from cold sleep, fed new code, and began calculating production curves, resource vectors, combat chassis configurations. Luna's subsurface forge fields crackled to life. Mars redirected its orbital mirror arrays to power hidden assembly lines long thought dismantled. Ibekwe exhaled slowly, as though shaking hands with a familiar monster. "They industrialized peace," he muttered, "but we industrialized everything." Elsewhere, satellites blinked in new patterns. Transceivers whispered encrypted blueprints to 3D reactors buried in civilian hubs. Civilians wouldn't know. Not yet. But within 48 hours, entire city blocks would double as machine shops. Streetcars would become artillery. Skytrains would shift to rail guns. That had always been the contingency. War without declaration, retaliation without delay. In orbit, Yulani fleet sensors picked up anomalies, temperature spikes, atmospheric, chemical shifts, electromagnetic interference. Their analysts were confused. None of Earth's overt defenses had moved. By the time they realized Earth's defense wasn't a military, but a supply chain, it would be too late. On the observation deck, Torres stared out at the blue arc of the Earth, glowing beneath the stars. "Do you think they'll understand?" she asked. "No," said Ibekwe. "Not until they see the factories bloom." Torres nodded. Then, without another word, she walked toward the command elevator. The quiet hum of the chamber echoed around her, like a distant drumbeat, the sound of a war machine stretching after a long slumber. The forge world on Luna's dark side bloomed like a steel chrysanthemum. Red-lit gantries whirred into motion, vast limbs of robotic arms swinging through vacuum with balletic precision. Superheated alloys flowed like lava across vacuum-sealed conduits, cooling into the sharp, angular skeletons of the newest generation of war machines. No humans worked here. Only autonomous systems guided by protocols written decades ago, now reawakened with surgical fury. Captain Torres stood in the orbital command center above Earth's equator, eyes scanning rows of holofeeds. Each displayed a different site of mobilization: Antarctic drone swarms rising from glacial bunkers, Pacific underwater yards assembling stealth subs from ocean-scraped metals, Venusian orbit siphoning gas streams into missile cores. The world, once silent, now sang a mechanical hymn. "We're scaling faster than projected," said Chief Engineer Rasik, his voice filled with equal parts pride and unease. "AI decision trees are adapting. We estimate 8,400 combat units by this time tomorrow." Torres nodded, then turned to Dr. Ibekwe, who was reviewing simulation models with a near-fanatical focus. "Marcus, your plan worked. They didn't strike early. Why?" "They're trying to understand us," he said without looking up. "That's the mistake." He tapped the display where a Yulani reconnaissance fleet lingered in high orbit, watching but not interfering. "They're observing our escalation, thinking we'll plateau. They don't grasp exponential warfare. They don't understand that our greatest weapons were never guns or ships, but systems." Torres folded her arms. "You mean logistics?" "I mean industry, Captain. The last time Earth went total war, we built 20 tanks an hour, aircraft in days. We sacrificed everything: comfort, ethics, sometimes even decency. The Yulani pride themselves on precision, on clean engagements. We pride ourselves on endurance, on adaptation." The doors opened behind them. Lieutenant Zhao entered, holding a pulse tablet. "Orbital scan confirms Yulani fleet movement. Probing maneuvers. One of their cruisers just lost a scout drone, vaporized by a mirror array on Mercury." Torres stiffened. "First blood?" "Technically," Zhao said, "but unofficial. No casualties. They're testing us." Ibekwe's eyes didn't waver. Let them. They think war is a dance. For us, it's a crucible. Across the solar system, the signs of humanity's awakening multiplied. Civilian traffic slowed, rerouted by AI logistics protocols. Power grids surged, devoting surplus energy to underground fusion smelters. On the dark web, whispers of Valkyrie protocol leaked, urban myths becoming belief. In Moscow, children sketched battle mechs in chalk on the pavement. In Nairobi, fusion plants glowed brighter than the moon. Some governments resisted. Others surrendered authority to the Unified Military Council, realizing the futility of fragmentation. Earth had not united under peace treaties or political revolution. It had united because the ghost of extinction whispered a shared language. Torres paced the command deck, boots silent on polymer flooring. "They'll strike soon. They can't let us gain more momentum." "They don't know," said Ibekwe, "that this is our momentum." The Yulani fleet moved like a constellation of daggers, formations fluid and elegant. Their technology was superior in design, aesthetics, even energy efficiency. But it was slow to adapt. For millennia, the Dominion had fought against lesser civilizations, snuffing out uprisings before they became wars. Their victories were swift, surgical. They had never met a species that industrialized violence, not just as necessity, but as culture. When the Yulani finally attacked, it was with coordinated precision, orbital beams aimed at Earth's military hubs, cyber warfare tendrils snaking into communication networks. But they were too late. Earth's systems had already gone dark, replaced by encrypted mesh relays built decades earlier. The real defense wasn't infrastructure. It was momentum, millions of autonomous machines already in play, already adapting, already learning. Torres watched from the bridge as Earth's counterstrike unfolded, not in the heavens, but in mass. 36,000 autonomous drones surged upward from atmosphere, each a convergence of old human ingenuity and new AI improvisation. They didn't fight cleanly. They overwhelmed, they blinded, they sabotaged. They embedded in Yulani hulls, burrowed into their circuitry, and converted the enemy's own mass into improvised weapons. The Yulani, for all their poise, recoiled. Two cruisers spiraled down, split by swarm fission charges that hadn't existed 30 minutes before. One flagship attempted an emergency jump and miscalculated, its light drive tearing it into fractured dimensions. The humans didn't cheer. They simply recalculated. Torres exhaled. "Status?" Zhao read off the feed. 12% fleet loss. Enemy retreat vectors detected. No human casualties. No signal of surrender. Ibekwe stood still, as if absorbing the weight of it all. "They'll fall back to regroup. They'll assume we overextended." "Did we?" Torres asked. "We haven't even started." The room went quiet. Outside the viewport, the Earth spun serenely, its surface calm beneath the orbital inferno. In his quarters later that night, Ibekwe opened the repository and stared at an image of a 1940s assembly line. Women riveting the shell of a bomber, faces weary but resolute. He touched the screen lightly. "We haven't changed," he whispered. "We've just updated the machinery." Above him, satellites moved into new alignment, factories recalibrated. The second phase of the Valkyrie protocol initiated. Planetary manufacturing integration. The war hadn't ended. It had just found its rhythm. Smoke shimmered in low orbit like a veil of forgotten stars. From the command deck of the Aquila, Captain Liana Torres observed the chaos below. Earth, partially shrouded by clouds of debris and glimmering remnants of orbital combat. A Yulani dreadnought, once the crown jewel of their forward fleet, spun slowly, dead in the void. Its sleek frame, once unmarred, now bore the signatures of human improvisation, magnetic charge detonations, hull splintering vibrations, and a savage new device made from scrap metal and plasma-siphoned solar flare. She leaned forward slightly, hands gripping the edge of the console, her knuckles pale. Behind her, Dr. Ibekwe studied the telemetry, noting the enemy fleet's scattered formations. They had retreated, but not fled. The pause was strategic, not desperate. "They're analyzing us," he said quietly, still trying to decode the why behind our response. Torres gave a tired smile. "Let them. The longer they think this is just resistance, the more time we buy." It wasn't resistance. It was evolution. All across the planet, humanity's mobilization reached its final crescendo. The old factories of Detroit now assembled autonomous exosuits by the thousands, each unit embedded with semi-sentient heuristics, tactical thinking machines in humanoid form. Mumbai's fusion towers powered underground railguns that could punch through planetary crust. From Cairo to Caracas, the world thrummed with mechanized breath. Lieutenant Zhao's voice broke through the tension. "Incoming transmission, encrypted. Source, Yulani High Command." "Play it," Torres ordered. The air shimmered with holographic distortion before stabilizing. Commander Chen appeared, his composed expression flickering under stress. He was flanked by two aides, one visibly injured, an unspoken testament to how far the battle had pushed even the Dominion's best. "You have demonstrated an unexpected degree of systemic resilience," Chen began. His voice no longer carried the pristine confidence of earlier encounters. "Our models did not account for such coordinated industrial metamorphosis." "That's one way to describe what we are," Torres said, crossing her arms. "A metamorphosis. You have sacrificed order for adaptability, precision for momentum. It is inefficient, yet disturbingly effective." Jen paused. Behind him, explosions flashed through the window of his command deck. Something heavy had struck a nearby vessel. He didn't acknowledge it. "We offer a ceasefire," he said at last. "A diplomatic delegation. Temporary stand-down." Zhao turned to Torres, awaiting orders. She didn't respond immediately. Her eyes met Chen's, unflinching. "Why now?" she asked. "Because we fear what happens next," he said. It was the most honest sentence she'd heard from him. Torres motioned for the transmission to be paused. She turned to Ibekwe. "You predicted this." He nodded once. "They see the machine now, not the units, not the battles, the mechanism behind it, the truth they missed. That our war is not just with them. It's with ourselves, our fear, our memory, our past. They saw our peace and mistook it for softness, but it was only intermission." Torres looked out again at the stars, now scarred with the afterglow of conflict. The temptation to end it here, to parley, to retreat into diplomacy, gnawed at her. But she remembered the first days when the Dominion had offered peace like a knife she was meant to willingly place at her own throat. "Send them a message," she said. "Tell them we accept a ceasefire, but no delegation, no boardrooms, no treaties." Zhao hesitated. "Just words?" "No," Torres said. "We show them what our peace costs." Back on Earth, as cities hummed in synchronized cadence, a signal propagated, a code wrapped in metaphor, encrypted in historical references, undeniable in implication. It was an archive upload, the full repository. Every war Earth had ever fought, every innovation born of desperation, every evolution purchased with blood. It streamed into Yulani channels not as a threat but as evidence. They would watch the firebombing of Tokyo. They would learn of trench warfare in the Somme. They would witness nuclear shadows burned into pavement. Torres stood silently as the data left Earth. A message written not in languages but in scars. The next morning, the Yulani fleet was gone. Not destroyed, not defeated, withdrawn. In the silence they left behind, humanity did not cheer. There were no parades. The Valkyrie protocol was not deactivated, only returned to sleep. Factories slowed, but did not halt. Surveillance nets relaxed, but remained vigilant. The machine of war was not dismantled. It was archived again, polished and hidden, waiting. In his quarters, Ibekwe wrote a final line in the repository, a warning. They came expecting conquest. They left fearing memory. The war was over. For now.